Hi, I'm Jeff Hopper. I'm here with our president, Jeffrey Cranford, and we are moving through our third study in spiritual due diligence, the nature of God, and we are on the second lesson about the transcendence of God. God, Jeff, is transcendent. He crosses all of these boundaries. Not to be disrespectful, but it's kind of like the ooze. He just gets into every little corner of the planet and every little corner of our lives. How does this make him awesome in our eyes and yet infinitely available to us as well?
Yeah, I think by the very nature of God, we have to say he's transcendent. I think as much as I'm fascinated by his transcendency, I'm also fascinated by how he's limited himself as it relates to our own decision to follow him or not. I mean, some theologians have likened it to him being a gentleman, that he does not force his way upon us, which speaks to the amazing love and mercy of this God and the character of this God, that he will not force himself on us. He will not force us to live in his kingdom for all of eternity. At some point, we have the decision that we don't want to live in his kingdom, that we've run from him our entire lives, and that we want to escape his transcendency. And there's only one place where, in that sense, he won't be transcendent, and that will be, and Paul talks about in his letter to the Thessalonians, is kind of this ultimate penalty is to live away from the love and the presence of God for all of eternity. Mm-hmm. And so there is one place where he does not transcend, and that is in this place, we can call it whatever you want, but Gehenna or whatever, in this place where we finally get our wish, where we won't escape his ooze, so to speak. One place where he won't, and will suffer the consequences of that, I think, for all of eternity. But it ultimately is really getting what we want. But when I think about God's transcendency, it really makes me believe it's not as some of the ancient cultures have talked about, where it's where God is in the rocks and in the trees and actually possesses these kinds of things. It's not that at all, but it's that God is ever present, and he can live in Zimbabwe. His presence can be in South America. It can be in Kuwait, and it can be in Denver, Colorado, all at the same time. And so that omnipresence is something that's hard to fathom, but how would it be that we would worship anything less than that? If the God wasn't the same for someone across the world, or someone in maybe even a different, we don't know about untamed galaxies, whether there's other creations, but God's still there. And I'm fascinated by his transcendency, and it makes me again fall down on my knees to recognize that his omnipresence is something that's overwhelming, and yet makes perfect sense. And you say, well, how intellectually would you even come to that? That's just you just kind of theorize that. Well, the way that you realize that is that I'll never forget when we were in Israel. You and I were in Israel recently, and here we were at one of these Caesarea Philippi, remember? And we had buses and busloads and busloads of different countries. We had Nigerians, we had Asians, we had Arabic-speaking people there. We had Germans, various Europeans, in fact, and we had some South Americans that we met. And they were all exhibiting the same qualities of our Creator, and yet they're all the way across the world. It's not just a theory, but he crosses cultures, he crosses certainly denominations, but he crosses cultures. I've never seen another major religion that can so easily flow into another culture and gain traction, and that must mean that God is in fact transcendent, that he's available to those in various cultures and other places as well, which is very compelling to me. One of the many reasons that I'm compelled about Jesus followership.
Well, and I would say too that a healthy view of the transcendence of God sure is a good defense against compartmentalizing God. Well, he's my Sunday thing, or my good Wednesday night thing. When I recognize, and it's related to the second letter of our LINKS acronym too, that we integrate the reign of Christ into our life. When I have a healthy understanding of the transcendence of God, I recognize he's already in everything.
You know, Jeff, and I have, through the years of meeting with these various men around the country and things, oftentimes I'll have to say, well, God's too busy to worry about this in my life, you know. And first of all, God's never too busy because he's transcendent.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus was very clear about how concerned God was for the very small details of your life, even numbering the hairs on our head, yep. And that a sparrow doesn't fall to the ground that he's not aware of, and that they don't worry about what they eat. And so his awareness of even the animal kingdom, and his awareness of us, and his awareness, all that creates the picture of a God who is transcendent, but not just transcendent. I mean, he's everywhere, but his love is everywhere as well, and his concern.
Yeah.